Welcome to the video titled Using LEML. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to use LEML to create an activity flow model for a learning environment. In this particular example, I'll be using a platform called Lucidcharts, but you can do this with paper and pencil, PowerPoint, Google Draw, Google Doc, Google Slides. A lot of different software can be used to construct this, including card examples on a table or something along those lines. But in this case, I'm going to be using Lucidchart. So to begin, I'm going to create a document. I'm going to do that by just selecting the New Document option and to create a blank flowchart. This will load a blank canvas for me to work with. Now, also in Lucidcharts, there's libraries that can be pulled in. So I want to make sure that I have the LEML library available. So I'm going to select that, version 3, and select Save. And now you'll notice that the LEML library has been added. I'm going to move that up closer to the top here. And it has all the building blocks and context and notation elements that are needed for LEML. To use LEML to design learning environments, you first need to begin by defining and describing the learning environment you want to model. So you have to have a general idea of what it is that you want to be doing. In this particular example, I'm going to do just a simple, I'm going to model a simple classroom environment, actually what we would consider to be kind of a traditional model. You can then begin by adding the building blocks and descriptions to the model. So let's say, for example, that I know the evidence of the learning that I want to have happen is going to be a final exam. So I'm going to select the evidence of learning and select final exam. And this is going to be a live exam in person. There really aren't any rules necessarily associated with how you describe these elements, other than, as a review, that the top is the short description of the element and the bottom description is how it is represented in the learning environment. So next I'm going to add points maybe for lectures. So I'm going to include a lecture 1, and we'll say that this is a live presentation. And then I have another lecture that I want to include. And again, this is going to be a live presentation. And so these are, and then this would lead to a final exam. So when I'm ready to link these together, I can include the action elements. In this case, it's going to be the learner that is moving between these elements. This is again a very high-level model. Each of these lectures could be modeled, to add additional more details and things like that. Now you also want to add the context around this. In this particular example, we're going to use the classroom context, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to send that to the back so that it doesn't cover these up, and just simply bound that box by there, by the classroom model. I'm also going to add a start and end point to this model by again linking those. And then I want to indicate where an objective is being met. So we'll just say, for example, that our objective 1 is being fulfilled by this exam, and I want to actually note that separately with this action by just a simple association, a system design association there. So I have this very simple model. This we may consider this to be a very traditional type of instruction. But I also want to add, let's say, for example, an online discussion during the sort of lecture 2 element. So if I wanted to do that, I could find the dialogue building block, and I'm going to have an online discussion over online discussion topic. That can be more specific if you like, and then we're going to use the discussion board in our learning management system to represent that. And this is also going to be a learner provided discussion area. But let's say that as the instructor, I also want to provide some feedback to the students within that space. So I'm going to include that, but I'm also going to change this action element so that it represents the role of the facilitator in that. And I'm going to provide some description, feedback on discussion topic. And then this is also going to be within the discussion board. And what I need to do to represent that accurately is then bring the online asynchronous context into this and bound those elements by that. So now I have a environment that has two contexts and is combining the building blocks. And this is just a simple lesson that combines these elements together. Now, one useful strategy, and what I demonstrated in this video, is to start with the evidence of learning building block and then work backwards. This helps ensure alignment in the learning environment and helps you identify where the objectives are being met from a very practical sense. And then I sort of worked backward and added the actions and incorporated the feedback elements and the lecture elements and things like that, the building blocks within the environment. There really isn't a set sequence to building these out. You're thinking more in layers than in a process, but then you're able to combine this into a sort of shareable model, and then you could also add notes and things like that to annotate this model and work and modify it over time. So in this video, I demonstrated how to construct a simple LEML model using the learning environment modeling language. This is creating an activity flow model, is what this is called, using the LEML framework. Once you have this, you can then use this to actually design, to develop the course, or you could use this to provide feedback and collaborate with other like instructional design team on the construction of this element. So in this video, I demonstrated how to use LEML to construct an activity flow model.